Try it again. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading's in-person and virtual worship service. I'm Rob Craig Coleman, a member of the worship arts team, and my pronouns are he and him. We choose to share our pronouns because we know people of all genders are holy, whole, and loved. Whoever you are, wherever you are from, whoever you love, whatever your faith tradition, you are welcome here. All are welcome here as we gather to create an understanding, welcoming, and family-friendly community where we nurture and explore individual spirituality, work to build a committed and loving community, and to help heal the world. We offer a special welcome if this is your first time with us, either in person or virtually. If you haven't already, please look at our webpage at uureading.org for more information about UUCR. Here you can learn more about this beloved community and connect with our staff. For those here in the sanctuary this morning, please come and speak to anyone involved with today's service after the service. And if you're watching this service online during our initial broadcast at 10 a.m. today, please, that's December 10th, by the way, please join the Zoom meeting with David Adamson immediately after this service. Thank you, David, for hosting.
Thank you, Rob. Good morning. My name is Reverend Laura Solomon. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am the minister here at UUCR, and it is a privilege to serve this community and the world with you. As we settle in for worship this morning, I invite you to take a breath. Allow yourself to arrive here in the mystery of this hour. Arrive here in this time we spend together, creating community, creating worship, creating love together. We are going to sing hymn number 389 together several times during this service. We'll sing it as a response to readings, as a meditation moment, as a grounding refrain. I invite you to remain seated as we sing this song today. Let's take another breath and listen to Beth play this once through. Then I will share our opening words, and then we will sing hymn number 389 once through together. Our opening words come from Rainer Maria Rilke. You, darkness that I come from, I love you more than all the fires that fence in the world. For the fire makes a circle of light for everyone, and then no one learns outside of you. But the darkness pulls in everything, shapes and fires, animals and myself, how easily it gathers them, powers and people. And it is possible a great presence is moving near me. I have faith in nights. As we light our chalice this morning with Unitarian Universalists all around the globe, I invite you to call into your heart the flame you kindle this morning, the flame of truth, of community, of commitment to love and to justice. Please join me in reciting our chalice lighting words. In the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the holiness we seek. Each week we recite our children's affirmation as a reminder of the most important elements of who we are. Do I have any kids who would like to help with our children's affirmation this morning? I invite you in front of the chancel. We have a lot happening up here today. Can you stay down on the floor for me? Perfect. Wonderful. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you all. We are Unitarian Universalists, the Church of the Open Mind, the Loving Heart, and the Helping Hands. Thank you all. We are entering a time of year where the earth grows colder, the animals begin to hibernate, and the days become continually shorter. This morning marks the second Sunday of the season of Advent. Each week until Christmas, we light a new candle on the Advent wreath, a circle of evergreens, along with each of the preceding candles. The flame of each new candle reminds us that something is happening now, but something more is yet to come. The light of Advent grows brighter and brighter, guiding us towards personal peace, shared joy, and more love. Last week, we lit our first candle for hope. We light that candle again today. And this morning, we light the second candle. We light this candle as a symbol of our longing for peace. We bring our hope into the world when we practice peacemaking. Our caring community aspires to be a source of freedom from violence and exclusion. May we become the ones we have been waiting for. Together, may we strive to create a lasting peace. This year, this candle feels particularly important, particularly meaningful, as there is so much violence. One of my Methodist colleagues shared that they are not lighting the candle for peace this year. Due to the war, the traditional Christmas lights will not be lit. Heads of churches in Jerusalem have noted that celebrations will be more somber this year. I respect this decision, and it is an important one in their tradition. And yet, I gathered this week with other Jewish clergy and lay leaders, and we discussed the importance of lighting candles even and especially in dark times. And so today, we choose to light both the candle of hope and the candle for peace. In this celebration of lights, we are also honoring the celebration of Hanukkah this morning. Also known as the Jewish Festival of Lights, the 8-day celebration of Hanukkah celebrates two miracles: a great Jewish military victory and the miracle of a tiny bit of oil keeping the eternal flame lit for 8 days. The Hebrew word Hanukkah means dedication, and this holiday commemorates the rededication of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. Typically, Hanukkah candles are lit at sundown. However, we wanted to share this important ritual with the congregation, so we are lighting our menorah and sharing the blessing with you this morning.
Our menorah was given in memory of Faith Altbush by her family. Faith and her family were members of UUCR, and she was described as a bright, smiling girl who asked questions and joyfully sang in the children's choir. Faith fell ill with meningitis and after many years of treatment died due to this illness. She would have been in her 30s now had she lived. Now, the inspiration for our menorah came from the book 9 Spoons, a Hanukkah Story by Marcy Stillerman. In this story, an elderly woman brings out a special menorah and tells her children the story of how she and her friends in a World War II concentration camp defied the Nazis and practiced their faith by stealing and hiding spoons to make a menorah for the children of the camp. A North Shore silversmith, Fred Finkel, created our menorah. He was a friend of the Murrays and played fiddle in a New England contra dance band with Beth. Fred died just a few years after making our menorah, and this menorah is a living tribute to both faith and the gift of Fred's craftsmanship. I invite members of the Olivier Mason family to come forward. They're going to light our menorah, and as they come forward, I invite us all into a spirit of reverence for this rich tradition and the history that they share. They will give us the blessings which go with the lighting of the candles, first in Hebrew and then in English. Our thanks to you, Olivier Masons, for this blessing you have bestowed on us by sharing this part of your tradition with us. And we wish you and all of our Jewish friends and families a happy Hanukkah.
Now let us rise in body or in spirit and sing hymn number 223, Rock of Ages, Let Our Song. I invite any kids or people who are young at heart who would like to come forward and have a conversation to come forward and have a seat here on the floor. Welcome, welcome. It's so good to see you all this morning. The mic. It is on my end. Move it a little closer. I can do that. How does that work? Is that better? Fantastic. Wonderful. So today we're talking about mystery. Who knows what a mystery is? What do you think? It's kind of like a thing where people don't know. Exactly. What do you think, Ethan? There's two meanings. Okay. What do you think those two meanings are? Ah, yes. So if you don't know something and you're trying to figure it out, and the second meaning is like a detective mystery. I love those two definitions. That's excellent. So I think you all are exactly right. I think of a mystery as being something that we don't quite understand. So behind some religious stories, there are mysteries, some things we don't quite understand. I'm going to share the story of Hanukkah today. Hanukkah is a holiday that happens around November or December each year. The exact time of the celebration is different because its dates are determined by the Jewish calendar that has different months. People who are Jewish, including me and some other people and kids here in the congregation, who here celebrates Hanukkah? Can you raise your hand? Awesome. We've got a lot of folks. Perfect. We celebrate Hanukkah to remember the history and culture of our ancestors. So long ago, there was a king named Antiochus who was very powerful. Antiochus ruled many lands, and one of those was the land of Israel. Because the king ruled over many lands, he ruled over many different people. They dressed in different ways, and they spoke different languages, and they followed different customs. When they prayed to different gods. But the king didn't care about the different ways and wishes of the people. He followed the Greek ways. So he made laws that said that everyone must follow Greek customs and pray in Greek temples to the Greek gods. Do we give that a thumbs up or a thumbs down for Antiochus' decisions? Yeah, thumbs down on that. So then the troops of Antiochus marched into the beautiful temple the Jews had built in Jerusalem, and they destroyed the holy scrolls and books, and they took the temple's treasures. Many people were very frightened, so they obeyed the new laws. Not far from Jerusalem, there was a Jewish man named Mattathias. Mattathias refused to follow the king's laws. He was so angry that he killed a Jewish man who didn't obey the soldiers, and then he killed a soldier. Even though Mattathias was angry at the terrible laws, he was wrong to kill people. Killing doesn't change laws. It just leads to more killing. But Mattathias called out that everyone who believed as he did should follow him. He knew that if he did not run away, he would also be killed. Many people who also hated the laws left their homes to follow him. Mattathias was very old, but his son, Judah Maccabee, continued leading the Jewish warriors who were resisting Antiochus' laws. The Jewish warriors called themselves the Maccabees. After many battles, the Maccabees took back their beautiful temple in Jerusalem. But when they got inside, they found that everything was broken and destroyed. So they set to work, cleaning and making it beautiful again. They rededicated their temple to make it feel like a holy place once again. as long as the Jewish people can remember, it has been very important to always have a flame called the Ner Tamid, or the eternal flame, burning in the temple. When the Maccabees looked for the oil to relight the flames, they found only a tiny bit that they could use. They were worried that there was only enough oil to last for one day. So the Maccabees were very worried. They were sure the light was going to go out before they could get more oil. But amazingly, they lit that lamp and it kept burning. It didn't burn for one day, and it didn't burn for 2 days. Do you know how many days that oil burned for? How many? 8 whole days, that's right. And by the time someone had come back with more oil for the lamp had stayed lit and it had not gone out at all. So they were able to keep that eternal flame burning. Today, those of us who are Jewish remember this piece of our history by lighting a menorah for 8 days, to remember that oil lasted for 8 days even though there was only enough for one. What else do you all do to celebrate Hanukkah? Yeah, what do you do? Oh, amazing. So you play dreidel, and whoever wins the chocolate coins gets to keep them. That is fantastic. So the dreidel is a top. I think Rob is going to get our dreidel for us. And a dreidel has 4 Hebrew letters, one on each side. Can you go and show that to our friends down there? Does anybody know what the letters on each side of the dreidel mean? What do they mean? Rosie. That's right, exactly. And nothing happens, so you either get a little bit or you get all of it, or you have to put one back, or nothing happens. But all of those letters also mean something. They also have a word associated with it. It means, do you know, Charlotte? Gimel, that's right. One of them is Gimel, that's right. And that's the one where you get all of it. But those words mean a great miracle happened there. I think of a miracle as kind of a little bit like a mystery, that we're not quite sure why something happened, but it happened. So our dreidel helps us to remember a great miracle happened there, and helps us remember that miracle that happened a long time ago in Israel. Thank you all for listening to our story today. We are going to sing our children to class. We take time during our service to light our candles of community, peace, and justice. We light our red candle of community to signify our interconnection. Wherever you are, whenever you are joining us, we light this candle holding you in love. May this light welcome and hold you, reminding you that your presence is needed here in this community. I invite you to speak aloud the name or names of people who are on your mind and heart today, to bring them fully into this space. We light our blue candle of peace for all the places worldwide where people live with the threat of war and violence. We continue to pray for peace around the world, in Israel, Palestine, Gaza, Ukraine. We pray for the 6 people killed yesterday by tornadoes in Tennessee. And we light our yellow candle of justice. May all people everywhere live their lives in freedom. And may we each do our part in the work for justice and liberation for all in our global community. As we recommit ourselves to this work of love and justice, may we each voice this commitment by saying amen. Amen. Please join me in a moment of prayer. Spirit of life, ancestor of the stars and the sun, you who embrace the vastness of space and us along with it, be with us today. Hold us in our worry, our exhaustion, our grief. Keep us close as we sit with our truth, whatever that may be. Lead us to rest in the quiet, to find solace and renewal in this time of shifting light and dark. You whose arms open with the spinning galaxies, help us to make room for all that is. Open our hearts to our loved ones, our neighbors, the beings with whom we share this planet. Lead us to reach out to others in compassion. Turn us toward one another in mercy, right relationship, and reconciliation. You who have seen the rising and setting of suns, of seasons, of civilizations, remind us of all that we have learned from the history of the world and from our own histories. Give us the courage to face our mistakes and to repair them whenever possible. Help us understand our interdependence, our gravitational relatedness with all the other spinning lives around us, and lead us to treat those relationships with care. In this space, filled with the people among us who shine like stars, this space, filled with the sparkle of love and care, may we give thanks for this moment to be together. May our senses be open to the beauty of this day, this season, this world. We continue our contemplation in a moment of silence, and then we'll sing hymn number 389 together. If you have a joy or a sorrow you would like to honor through lighting a silent candle, you are invited to come forward now.
Come down from the hills. Declare the fighting done. Be bold, declare victory, even when the temple is wrecked and the tyrants have not retreated, only coiled back like a snake, prepared to strike again. Come down, try to remember a life gentled by daily acts of domestic faith, the pot set to boil, the bed made up, the table set in calm expectation that when the sun sets, we will still be here. Come down and settle. Unlearn the years of hiding, light fires that can be seen for miles, that dance and spark and warm the frozen marrow. Set lamps in the window. Declare your presence, your loyalties, the truths for which you do not expect to have to die. It would have been a miracle, you say, to carve such a solid life out of the shell of fear. I say, you are the stuff from which such miracles are made.
You might notice that things are a little different on the chancel this morning. Can you all hear me okay? Fantastic. Aside from the millions of candles we have lit here to bring light into the darkness, I don't usually preach while sitting, but As I'm sure all of us know, sometimes having a body is complicated. I want you to know that I am okay. This morning, my body simply requires the accommodation of sitting to preach. And because everything is a ministry moment, everything is a teaching moment, I want to use this moment to express gratitude for the mystery and wonder of our bodies, including the times when they are complicated. And I also feel gratitude for the ways we offer one another grace and compassion and love, making room for all the ways we gather together. Rob shared that poem in which Reverend Unger writes, "Come down from the hills, come down and settle." It's December, y'all. And as much as December is a time of wonder and magic and mystery, as much as December is a time of family and love, December can also be a time of pressure and expectations. It can also be a time of complicated family gatherings and stressful planning and budgeting, and there is never enough time. And even still, this poem reminds us, come down and settle. I love that we have so many candles burning here this morning. Our chalice, the symbol of our faith, our Advent wreath with its candles of hope and peace, our menorah with its candles of dedication, of history, of commitment to tradition and resistance, our joys and sorrows, our individual lights of hope, of fear, of despair, of love, still shedding light in the darkness. This is how we make it through these times. We kindle these lights just as people have always done. We gather in community, just as people have always done. We are here in spite of everything, kindling these lights, doing what humans do. Which is to say, worrying, maybe, and doing this life imperfectly, and loving one another imperfectly, and feeling unsure of who we are, or why we are here, or what we are doing, or what the whole purpose of this life thing is, and yet, here we are. It would take a miracle, Reverend Unger writes, to carve such a solid life out of the shell of fear. Come down from the hills. Come down and settle. I love the story of Hanukkah. In recent years, I have grown to feel more connected to my Jewish heritage, feel pulled particularly on holidays to dedicate and rededicate myself to the resilience and story of a people whose DNA I carry. Hanukkah is not just a story about a light in the darkness, but it's a story about cultural genocide and forced assimilation. The story of Hanukkah is not just about light where there was none. It's about dedication and rededication and holding on to history and culture and covenant. As we heard in the Time for All Ages, the flame that went out in the temple wasn't just any flame. It was the Ner Tamid, the eternal flame that reminds us of God's abiding love and imminent presence. But that light also reminds us of a commitment, a covenant, to being a light unto the nations. The Ner Tamid is the light that reminds us to be the light in the world. It reminds us that we are that which is holy, and with it, we dedicate ourselves to being a force of love that shines eternally. In the book of Isaiah, God says, "I have called you in righteousness. I have taken you by the hand and kept you. I have given you as a covenant to the people, a light to the nations, to open the eyes that are blind, to bring out the prisoners from the dungeon, from the prison, those who sit in darkness." Now, if we can forgive the authors of Isaiah for their ableist language, it was a different time after all. What I hear there is a call for us to live our lives justly as forces of not just love, but also liberation. This passage, like most passages in the Bible, can be and has been interpreted in a number of ways, both for good and for ill. But what I hear in this passage is God saying, I am asking you to live a life of love and justice and to use that love to free others. And the Jews lit a lamp, the Ner Tamid, so each day when they came to the temple, they remembered, we are called to live lives of justice, liberation, and love. That light is the light that went out in the temple. The light which held that reminder, not just of God, but of who we are and who we want to be in the world. And when that light was destroyed, when their temple, their holy space was destroyed, when they were traumatized and afraid and everything was in ruins, do you know what they did? They relit the lamp. We are called to live lives of justice, liberation, and love, they reminded themselves. The Jews were under no illusions. There was only enough oil for one more day. They sent someone to get more oil, but in the meantime, they lit the lamp, knowing it would burn out again before he came back. They lit it anyway, to remind themselves what they were called to do. They lit it knowing they were called to live lives of justice, liberation, and love. And it stayed lit. And each day the Jews thought, surely this is the last day. Surely the lamp will burn out any moment now. And it stayed lit. And it stayed lit. For 8 days, until that person came back with more oil, it stayed lit. The story we tell our children is that the miracle was that the lamp burned for 8 days. The story we tell is often that the miracle happened because Jews rededicated the temple to God after it had been desecrated. But for me, the miracle isn't really about the oil lasting for 8 days. The miracle didn't happen to reward the Jews for their proper religiosity. The miracle was that the Jews had been living a life of persecution and exile, of war and fighting. Their most holy place was ruined. If we think December 2023 can feel bleak, let me tell you, I don't think the month of Kislev in 165 BCE was a walk in the park. And yet they lit the Ner Tamid with no expectation that it would continue to burn. We are called to live lives of justice, liberation, and love, they were saying. We are still going to be loud and public and unafraid. We are still going to fulfill our promise of how to live our lives. So the miracle wasn't that the oil burned for 8 days, because if the oil burned for 5 days or 3 days or 1 day, it still would have been a miracle. If there was no oil, the fact that the near to mid was not destroyed would have been a miracle. And if the near to mid had been destroyed, if the Jews had looked around, there would have been something else that led them to recommit and to rededicate themselves to what mattered. And that, too, would have been a miracle. The miracle was never the oil. The miracle was always in the people who recommitted themselves to living faithful, resilient, liberatory lives in spite of everything. In spite of everything. So here we are in December 2023, and we are still called, are we not? We are still called to live lives of justice, liberation, and love, and we are called to dedicate ourselves to that kind of living. What would it look like to rededicate ourselves this holiday season to lives that are faithful, that is full of faith, which is to say, full of a belief that perhaps the miracle is already here? Perhaps the miracle is the commitment, the faith, the human drive to get up and do the things we must do now. The justice and freedom happens because we continue, because we light the lamp even when we have no expectation that it will stay lit. We light it anyway because it fulfills our promise of who we are in the world. We dedicate and rededicate ourselves to being the people we are called to be, which is to say, we dedicate and rededicate ourselves to love. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. May it be so, and may we make it so. Amen.
A simple yet powerful way for each of us to help heal the world is to learn about and support the good works of charitable organizations and become more involved in our community. Each Sunday, UUCR shares half the money received in the collection plate to a nonprofit organization that shares our UU values. Bread and Roses is a soup kitchen located in Lawrence where 3 out of 4 residents are facing food insecurity, 1 out of 4 lives below the poverty line, and 40% are immigrants. For the past 11 years, UUCR's Bread and Roses team has been preparing a nutritious meal for 160 guests on the first Saturday of every month. It cost $200 a month to purchase the ingredients for the meal, so the team needs $2,400 to keep the program going through the coming year. The Bread and Roses team will be hosting Social Hour today. They will be offering a taste of their Pasta Primavera, and they'll be there to answer any questions you have about the program. So please give generously to our Share the Plate offering to help the UUCR Bread and Roses team meet their $2,400 goal. and to support the mission of UUCR. Thank you. We live in a time sort of like Wikipedia of instant correction. So I was told to let you know that Faith Altbutch actually died from brain cancer, and a reminder that the menorah was donated by the families of her RE classmates. So thank you, Martha, for setting the record straight for all of us. So this is our congregational life. In this week, our congregational life, you're invited to participate in our Monday Buddhist meditation drop-in group, our Liberal Ladies and Friends on Wednesday, or our P-Flag meeting on Thursday evening. Next Sunday is the kind of day that you wait all year for. It is our multi-generational holiday Music Sunday and Living Nativity service. That means, yes, that's right. This year we're combining two fabulous UUCR traditions, Music Sunday and the Living Nativity. Join us for a music and joy-filled service for people of all ages. If you want to participate in our Living Nativity, please plan to arrive to worship around 9:40. I know, it's early. Quiet's going to be here even earlier. Please come by 9:40 to be able to choose a costume. Also, next week, please return our guest at the table donation boxes and plan to stay for our holiday cookie swap during social hour. Individual and families should bring a dozen or more of your favorite nut-free cookies, baked from scratch or from mixes, or even something from a bakery or a grocery store, as all treats will be appreciated. Bring them in a container you can use to fill up with the goodies you'll pick from the exchange. If you're not a baker, no problem. There will be plenty for everyone. You can take yours home to enjoy, or maybe gift them to someone else to enjoy. If you're a musician who would like to provide some holiday music in the atrium for a little bit, say in the 11 to 12-ish time, for background music or for singing carols together, please reach out to Melissa. For today, thank you to all our volunteers who made our services possible. And our thanks to the Bread and Roses meal prep team hosting today's social hour and sharing a taste of their primavera. I'm also asked to let you know that thanks to everyone's contributions, Martha and the KK Fair team are pleased to announce that the final total for the Kris Kringle Fair came to $14,000. Yet another example of how it is important to be so much a part of our vital congregational life. Now please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing our closing hymn 226 in the gray hymnal, People Look East.
Please join me. It's not on.
Now it's on? Yes. We're going to do the reception line a little differently. The reception line will be right down here in front of the chancel today.
Thank you, Rob. We are now going to extinguish our chalice. Please join me in reciting our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. As we kindle the lights in this season of darkness, may we rededicate ourselves to the miracle of resistance in the face of oppression, the miracle of bravery in the face of fear, the miracle of hope in the face of despair, the miracle of trust in the face of anxiety, the miracle of faith in the face of cynicism. On this day and in all of the days to come, may we dedicate and rededicate ourselves to love. Let's sing hymn number 389 together one more time. Blessed be.